Thank you for joining me on another episode of What Sayeth the Crooked Nose. Today I speak to somebody very special. She is part of my personal peer group, somebody who has not only sought after transformation, but has indeed transformed her life along the same path that I have. Somebody whose vibrance that you'll see is very evident. Someone who has suffered what could have been something, catastrophic in her career. And because of who she is and the model of the world where she comes from, well, instead of rain, she created sunshine. And how so many things worked well for her. And she even reminded me, right? Sometimes we need our own reminders of my own path, of uncertainty to find certainty within, and how it makes life so much better. And Tina Mara Linne is incredible, right? She is the visionary for, the visionary officer for Feeling Unlimited. And she's also going to be putting on a very special financial manifestation to help clear financial blocks in anyone who feels that they could do better financially. And we'll discuss that and how to get a hold of her. And if you like, if you like what you hear, leave a comment. Let us know what it was that you liked. If you felt that there could have been a follow-up question somewhere, hey, also comment. Let us know, where maybe I could put a little bit more effort or just a different way of asking questions. And as always, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and share. If you know somebody who could benefit from hearing this story, well, share this and help them out. Help them see that life isn't just what we see. Life is so much more about what we feel. And with that truth, let's go ahead and talk to Tina with Feeling Unlimited. Oh my gosh. Tina, I am so excited to have you here. You are such an incredible inspiration, part of my own personal peer group. And, let me introduce, Tina Mara Linne. And she helps people who, those who are uncertain in life to get ready for the future, right? We experience a major, paradigm shift on a global scale, right? Heart-centered consciousness is going to be crucial if we want to live a fulfilled life and excel in business or to change the world for the better. And she helps you find where to change yourself in order to change the world. Now, Tina, with Feeling Unlimited, invites you to move from a love of power to harnessing the power of love. She's the founder and chief visionary officer, and Tina has studied universal teachings like yoga, meditation, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, and astrology for over 15 years, and combines ancient wisdom with the latest scientific research. That must be why I like you so much. Anyway, Tina.
The research part, right?
No, it's just the ancient wisdom with scientific research. Like,
Oh.
I find myself taking what I've learned and examining it and combining it with like the Tao Te Ching, for instance, and ancient Chinese wisdom that's basically saying the same things that people in the 1920s have been saying,
Absolutely.
and even now. And well, Tina, I'd love to hear a little bit about you. You recently just had an amazing award. I wonder if you could share with us a little bit about what led up to that award and then what that award was and why it was so meaningful for you.
I got the Outstanding Leadership Award at the Education 0.2 conference. It's held 2 times a year. One time is in Las Vegas, and one time is in Dubai. And I was invited to the conference in Dubai to receive that award. And the organizers of the conference, they kind of specialized in bringing trailblazers and visionaries and people that change makers together. And I really have to compliment them. This is really what they did. This was just, it was like about 300 plus attendees, and they came from all over the world. And it was just so amazing to be there and to talk to them and kind of build a mastermind, because this is, this is what happens, right? You don't just connect by talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
You also connect on a higher level, and this can be very inspiring if you're together with the right people.
Yeah.
And so open for higher consciousness. It really surprised me, and I loved it. And I wrapped up the conference. It was a surprise. The presenter came to me at the third day, and she was like, oh, she just wanted to say that she loved what I said. I talked a bit about heart coherence and how important it is to practice heart-brain coherence. And she said, oh, I love the part you said about the heart coherence, and if I do know the emotion code. And I was just reading the emotion code like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, how that is when these kind of synchronicities happen, and you're like, you didn't say that now, but she did. She said, yeah, I practiced the emotion code too with my kids, and then on it went. And then she was like, oh, maybe we could do something and have kind of a practical application to wrap up the conference. Would you love to do that? And I said, of course. And I said, do we have to talk to the organizer? And she was like, oh, no, I just get you on stage. I'm the boss on stage, and we just do it. We don't
Nice.
talk to no one. And I was like, okay. And she said, we don't have much time. We just have 5 minutes. So whatever you do, don't take more than 5 minutes. We're already late. And I was like, okay. And you know me, I'm into the color stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I love my little Aurosoma friends.
Yep.
I said, you mind if I share color essence just to build a, nicer frequency in the room? And she was like, oh, no, not at all. I would love that. And I said, okay. And we just do it. Who wants to participate can participate. They don't have to. But yeah, and then she kind of be there at 5:30, and I was there, and then she was kind of picking me up in the back of the room, and we were entering the stage together. And then I was just saying, okay, let's do a little experiment and see if we can create a beautiful hug space to wrap this conference up. And it was such an honor to meet you all. And then we may create heart coherence field together. And we use the essences, and it's just like, a little cheat code, so it works better. And you can share, you don't have to. They were literally running in front of the stage, and someone did a video. He was like, oh, I have to take a video of that. So it's on LinkedIn. And so we shared this with everyone. People came in running into the room. They've been outside. Everyone came in. It was magnetic. Even the organizer, everyone came. And it was so beautiful. Everyone was so curious what will happen. And we just shared it. And then I just had them, put their hands to their heart and have them have a few breaths into their heart and connect everybody. And it was such a high energy in the room. I almost couldn't speak. I was trembling. It was really awesome. And everyone, they were hugging each other afterwards. It was so great. And Rachel was like, oh, how I wish that every event I was on was so conscious as this event. And it just gave me a really good feeling for the future to see it's happening. People are ready. They're ready for that. And this was really, business, a business meeting. It was a business context. It was not spiritual festival where everyone is open to that kind of sharing anyway. But yeah, this was just beautiful.
That's so awesome. And it's so interesting to see how many different paragons of industry are much more coming aware of heart-centeredness and much more coming aware of the consciousness and and like you said, not the love of power, but the power of love. And that sounds woo-woo maybe to some people, But when we understand,
Really? You
well,
think
the
so?
people who may not quite be there, right? Because, there's still plenty of people who will watch this that might be feeling like a victim. And if they're feeling like a victim, in the same way that, even if I wasn't feeling like a victim, there was a time I listened to Sadhguru, and Sadhguru said, well, hey, if you want to be happy, just be happy, right? Happiness is nothing more than the
And you were
byproduct.
like,
Yeah, it's nothing more than the byproduct of happy thoughts. And I was like, yeah, easy for an Indian mystic to say, but I took him up on it. I was like, okay, well, what would that look like in my life? And then I started following that. And so, when we realize that what happens in the outer world is effectively a fact, but what happens in our inner world is a feeling, and the feeling are what give truth, our truth, to that fact. And so I started playing with this idea of what is real, the fact or the feeling. Because if we feel like a victim, then whatever fact we get is going to probably feel like it's burying us and be like, well, it's so much further out of reach and it's so much further out of reach. And then, but if we feel worthy and feel worthy of love, well, when we hear these, like, oh my God, oh man, preach, girl, preach. Right. And that's where and I'm curious, I think that Peter, he talks about the difference between context and content. And I guess the fact and the feeling is a little bit more of my own take on that, but very similar, similar ideas. And do you have any thoughts on that we just spoke about?
I hope my son will not be yelling just like right now. But you know how it is with kids. They have great timing,
Yeah.
to clear up the emotional space in our bodies is crucial because we all carry a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's blocking us so much. And I mean, I got new content on that by reading the emotion code, and it's a very simple technique where you can release trapped emotions from the body. You just need a fridge magnet to do that, and to see the trauma you're holding. And it's like, you have, when you're inside world, the thoughts and the emotions are mirroring your reality into the outside world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a mirror that is shiny and you have no spots on there, and it's just, everything on the inside is shiny, you are shining, and the mirror is just reflecting it to the outside world, then everything's fine, right? Yeah. Everything's perfect. Everything's manifesting in the way you want. Hooray. But usually it's not that way. Usually you have dark spots on there, or you have cracks, you have blind spots, you have, and that kind of distorts what is reflected into your reality. And the emotions are even stronger than the thoughts. Like, of course, when you think happy thoughts, the result will be, in time, you will be happier and have happier, feel happier emotions, right? Because they are connected. And it's a thing of conditioning. So you have to practice, because we are more practiced in thinking negative thoughts. And our brain is more, likely to think negative thoughts because it's meant to be that way. It's meant to keep us safe. It's meant to see, what is there that we need to take care of, or is there something, is there a danger? And that's a good thing. But the feelings, they have much more power, right? The emotions, they produce a magnetic field, while the thoughts are just producing electricity, right? And the heart space gives so much more of a field, and the beauty or the magic happens in the moment when you bring it together, when they're, like Peter says, when they're, jumping along happily, hand in hand, and in harmony with each other. And I think that's when the miracle really happens and things are really falling into place. in your life. And I think you
I
had
think
that
so.
experience too, right? You had kind of that fine-tuning process when you were moving from, I don't want to say miserable, but I mean, you've been at a completely different place,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and
Let's say 18 months ago.
so I wasn't quite miserable 18 months ago. I probably was pretty miserable about there was a certain amount of misery in my life around around 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. 2.5.
And with that, I tuned in to just, hey, what can help me here? I had so much chaos in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tuned into the idea of the greatest idea of goodness of which I can conceive, but I wrote it in such a way where I could actually become it, right, based upon the advice of Jordan B. Peterson. And when I did that, and to your point about the magnetic field being stronger, right? Well, the electrical field, that comes from our brain, is what, like maybe a centimeter outside of our body, doesn't really go out far at all. Whereas the magnetic field is about 3,000 times bigger. And to put that into bigger perspective, if we look at planets, right, Jupiter, for instance, right, Jupiter's electrical storms, well, they basically stay in its atmosphere, right? It's not really exiting the atmosphere, but the magnetosphere travels through the asteroid belt, travels through Mars, and reaches Earth's orbit, and which protects us from a lot of the plasma radiation and the radiation from the sun. And so when we have that magnetic field open, and I didn't realize that at the time, and my field was, hey, how do I become Gandalf? And I created, what is my greatest ideal of goodness? And it was all around Gandalf, but not just Gandalf, who's like, hey, I'm gonna go fight some demons in a mine that I didn't even want to go to in the first place. Or I'm gonna go, face off against the Witch King and have it blow up my staff just to show everyone how brave I can be, even in the face of complete and utter terror. It was the Gandalf who realized that the key to saving the world was not the people who are building the biggest castles, was not the people who have the biggest chariots and the biggest carriages, was not the people who are paving the largest roads and have the biggest armies. It was the people who had the most loving communities, because he understood what keeps great evil at bay is one act of kindness to another on a population-wide level.
Okay. I think that's really beautiful. I mean, the simplicity, of love, of compassion, of being kind to yourself and to everyone around you. I mean, it seems so simple,
Yeah.
but and that's what I mean with let's move from the love of power to the power of love. We've been practicing in the past, let's say, I don't know, 200 years. It was a rise in ego consciousness, like that people want to achieve something and suppress parts of the population. I mean, I'm just reading a book that's called The Invisible Women, and it's about like the hidden gender bias that is everywhere. I don't want to go into that now. If you're interested, it's a great book. It's just based on studies, so it's not a mad feminist that is just like freaking out. No, it's just studies and studies and studies and studies where you can see that women literally not exist, like as if we were not there. And it's time to change. It's time to change that. And it's what I feel and what I see is that the left brain is so present everywhere, and left brain skills are present everywhere, but still like intuition, which is one of our most sublime higher brain functions, has a really bad reputation. And why? I'm asking myself, why? Because you can't measure it. You can't put your finger really on it. It's somewhere, it's nebulous maybe. And I mean, we've been talking about this, masculine, feminine energies a lot. And you see that everywhere. And it's time that we integrate both of the beauty that is on both sides without fighting each other.
I mean, that's such a good point. I mean, if you look at the yin yang, right, the white represents, masculinity, but in all masculinity, there's also the feminine. And then the dark represents femininity, and in all femininity, there's also masculinity. And a big problem that we have right now, it seems, in society is this outrage against, masculine energy. And the problem with that is that if we make masculinity an enemy, well, there's no way that we can have mature femininity. And a big source of that is going to be our unconscious, right? The darkness. That's pure feminine, just chaos just going on, and where our power is, what drives our identity, and when we don't show up with any sort of connection to that, then, certainly we can be lost, and much harder to realize that, as you mentioned, the world really is a reflection of, and so the only thing that we're left with is effectively chaos, and not the beauty that lies with that chaos.
And what you said is, I think, a really important point, this making it an enemy. The feminine was an enemy, like, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like the scale is tipping, and now the masculine is the enemy. But the truth is, we need, I mean, nature made us with these two parts of the brain, right?
Yep.
And I think nature knows quite well what she's doing. And so there is a reason why we have both of these parts. There is a reason why we have both of these energies, and we need them both. I mean, if we didn't have masculine energy, we would get nothing accomplished. Nothing would start. We would have, there would be no innovation. There would be no forward movement. There would be, that's the thought in itself is masculine energy. But at the same time, if we wouldn't have had the nourishing qualities where it can grow, if there wasn't, it's like the soil, if we wouldn't have had the soil where we can plant everything that wants to grow, nothing will grow. So we needed both. And there we go again. We need to meet each other with an open heart and say, yeah, we are different. And it's no problem that we're different. We can see a beauty in that. We can see it with curiosity, like a kid, like, oh, wow, what is there for me to learn? What is, just be open about it, and be, just be nicer to each other.
Yeah, no, I like that, because I recently had a revelation within the last few months, a further clarity on the judge not lest ye be judged. And, it's the idea, and then also, love your neighbor as yourself, right? The judge not lest ye be judged is this idea that, who cares if I judge you, right? If Joshua Cameron judges you and you're living your life, right, is that going to limit your abilities? Is that going to keep you from being able to put food on the table? Is that going to be able to keep you from reaching your dreams? Well, no, right? The warning there is, judge not lest ye be judged by the very judgments that you are casting upon others. And when we love our neighbors as ourselves, right, we may do that clumsily. We may not really know how to love ourselves very well. And if we can learn to love our neighbors, regardless of what we see, well, that's going to teach us some of the biggest and ultimate lessons within ourselves. Because if it is a mirror reality, and our neighbors doing something that we don't like, and we can learn to love that, well, then we're literally learning how to love ourselves at the same time. And because when we're triggered, that's not them. That's all us. That's 100% us. Anytime we're triggered, I've learned this mechanism now where I can actually pull myself out of it. And I mentioned in the last podcast that I had, somebody that you and I both know, Laz Core, where I had a conversation with him. And I told him about a gift that he gave me about how he was on part of the 5-day manifestation or 5-day challenge that Peter was holding, Peter Sage. And he came on, he started talking, and he was going to quote Peter on something that Peter does. And he kind of fumbled him and said, "Hey, Peter, how do you say this?" And I immediately started like feeling like, well, I know that. Look at me. I know more than Laz does. Like, oh, and I caught myself. As soon as I did, I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. Look at me all trying to peacock that just because I know bar trivia, just because I can relate, a quote, right? Here's a guy who's living it. Right. And just because he can't, like say the quote, that somehow diminishes. And it's like, okay, thank you. You gave me a gift because it exposed a trigger there where, because for so long, part of my life was I would get love, or at least think I did, by being the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. I mean, we all find our pathways where we like, find out, okay, this is the way where I get validation. This is a way where I get positive confirmation. This is a way where people love us, right? And get the affection we really need. And, like through all this subconscious conditioning we all receive, we just turn into that person. And then like I was smiling because I could really feel that it's like at that moment our ego's jumping in and it's like, I know it better.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost funny if you catch yourself and if you're watching yourself in that moment, because we all have an ego.
Yeah.
It's not like, and again, nature gave us this part, so there's nothing wrong with it. The question is just, is it sitting in the back seat? Maybe, in the children's seat, just strap in there and you have it and that's fine, but you are in the driver's seat. Or are you in the trunk and your ego is in the driver's seat?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not, especially like in the yogic traditions and in the classic spirituality, it is often teach that the ego is kind of your enemy and you have to get rid of it.
Yep.
And I don't see it that way. It's
Preach.
more like, it's like a pet. You just have to watch it so it does not, run around and make a mess of your life. But it has its qualifications, and it's good that it's there. And if you get so conscious, then like you witness yourself. Oh, that's my program, and then that's fine. It's nothing to, and there we come with a judgment. It's nothing to judge yourself for. I think that the self-compassion comes before any compassion towards your neighbors or anyone. You have to be compassionate with yourself. And when I kind of started my spiritual path with Orasoma, and I was on the way to my first training, it was a 5 days training, and I had to drive a bit. And I was driving together with a woman, and at that point, she tripped me up. She was pushing all my buttons, and I wasn't that aware. I was a bit aware. I was like, okay, she's triggering me, but I couldn't figure the whole thing out. And when you do an Orasoma training, you pick bottles like first thing in the morning, and the color combinations have certain meanings. And I picked the bottle number 59, and the bottle number 59 turned out to have a key. Every bottle has a key sentence, and the key sentence was, don't judge, so you shall not be judged. And I was like, okay.
Look at that. That was quite relevant to what I just brought up too. That's funny.
And it immediately I was sitting in that car, and I was looking at her, and but then it led me to see. It was an eye-opener to see where I was judging myself and how harshly I was judging myself. And it was actually shocking to see and to kind of, you know, discover how much self-judgment there was and how long it took to, you know, I wouldn't say peel the onion, because I like this peeling the onion is something like that never ends, right? It's an onion that never ends. You're peeling and peeling and peeling, and you never come to the center. But it was a process, and it took me years. And you know, it gets more and more subtle, I think. Like in the first, when you're starting, it's quite obvious, but then it's like as if it would be hiding from you. And or more, maybe you're coming more from, you know, first you clear up your conscious mind. That's relatively easy. And then when you're entering like your subconscious mind, where it's dark, we've been talking about that, you know, where the chaos is and where everything is and where you're connected to everything and everyone else. And it's just vast space. And there is everything that you have ever learned, ever heard, everything you inherited, everything. And then it gets really interesting, and it gets really, it gets just harder to put your finger on. It gets more subtle. And there you have to really, you need to stay consistent then, and, you know, be ready to, you know, have your setbacks, have these moments when you're like, it doesn't feel like I'm moving forward. It's just feeling like I just moved 10 steps back, even if I'm really, no, not even. Every time I had this, I really tried hard. It was like every door was closing right in front of me. I don't know if you experienced something like that, but I had this all the time. Every time I was trying, it was like something or someone was saying, nope, not that way.
Yeah. Well, I have, I guess really since I started EMF is when I really noticed how much I was being corralled into one specific place, right? And I've been getting a lot of synchronicities lately, you know, things that, well, you know, relevant to this conversation too, because of where you live. But and I'll get to that in a second. But I was part of this Stage to Scale program with Pete Vargas, and about, you know, getting our message and crafting our message to the best possible way that we can. And, you know, as a part of that, right, here I am, you know, doing everything I can to be a higher vibrational being, not trying, but living it. And then as I'm a part of this, Pete says, hey, and this is, you know, like 600 people. Hey, we've never done this before, but we're going to go ahead and give this free gift, $5,000 gift. We've actually sold it for 10,000 before, but $5,000 gift for you to come and do a live workshop and master this, and also figure out how you can get on other stages, whether it be physical stages or digital stages. Like, ooh, wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So I was drawn to this, and now here I am getting a $5,000 gift. Okay, well, it seems like, you know, I'm in a place of abundance, right? And that's, my heart is full of abundance. So, well, that's awesome. Well, and then I found out not even a week ago. So the dates that I'll be going are going to be it's going to be in Denver, and it's going to be August 5th and 6th, that Saturday and Sunday. And I found out that my ex-sister-in-law, my brother's ex-wife, who sounds like she's going to be there with the twins, the youngest kids who I've never met, is going to be in Denver from August 4th through August 11th. Wait a minute, what? And where are they? They're in Germany.
Really?
They're in Germany, yeah. And so here they are, continents away. And then all of a sudden we're going to be in the exact same spot. Like, well, that's interesting. Well, and then we had our graduation call for Stage to Scale yesterday, and they picked 3 valedictorians of people who were, just, the best, the people who they felt excelled the best. And, one of the speakers there, Pat Quinn, was saying, look, it's so easy to be part of a training, especially digital, where people just sit back and he's like, and so we really love seeing people that are engaged, that are always smiling. And so for our valedictorian here, and I thought to myself, oh, this is gonna be me. And then they said, it's for the best smiling face, always showing up, it's smiling, improving, adding value. Joshua Cameron was like, oh, it was me. And then, and so, yeah. And so now this is another synchronicity of showing
Awesome.
there's something that's going to happen big time in Denver.
Yes.
What I don't know is it going to happen because of Denver or happen in Denver? And that's what I'm going to find out.
Denver.
Yeah.
It's going to happen in Denver, but it's going to be, I've experienced this in Dubai as well. I knew it's important to go there. I knew at the time I was saying I'm going, I had no idea how to get the money because, I had to pay the hotel and to go there. And, I lost my job.
Yeah.
And it was, I had no idea. But in my head, it was like, go. Everything will show up. And I knew it was important. Everything showed up. Everything was wonderful. I went there and I met these people. And now they called me. I will be on the cover of a magazine. I will be like the 5 most inspiring leaders to watch in education in 2023. So go there. It will happen. It will happen. It's your, you will take the opportunity. You took the opportunity in the course, obviously. And it's that, and I had this epiphany too, to take the courage and to step up and to speak when it's your time to speak and take your opportunity. And I think you always do that. And this always inspired me, Josh, really, because I thought you never second guess. You just step up there, and it takes a lot of courage. And I'm so happy to, witness like how it's taking off for you. And this will be just Denver will be just the beginning.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited for it, and I really appreciate that feedback, right? And it's going to be a great time. I love that, you and I are sharing something so similar, right? And my family's in Germany, you're in Germany. You had so many of these synchronicities on going to show up for this award, and while I'm not winning an official award, I won an unofficial award out of like 600 people saying, hey, we noticed this guy. We noticed this guy showing, adding value, being happy. Like, well, that's interesting, right? And so here I am, a healer, helping people say that love is what, heals all. And I got noticed for my smiling face, right, the entire time. And it's like, oh,
ain't that beautiful?
Yeah, that is beautiful. And it
seems like it's beautiful.
Seems like it's the universe kind of like wink, 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 wink. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. And you get all the rewards if you're brave enough to take your chance and to step up and to speak when the time is there.
Well, and you mentioned something about being on the cover of that magazine. And I want to explore that a little bit because you had lost your job. You had been in a place where it's like, what the F is going on, right? I thought everything was getting better, like, and now this. And then maybe take us through that. Take us through what sort of, right, because you've got feeling unlimited. It certainly sounds like you're feeling unlimited. And take us through a little bit of that, of like how it could have felt like the world was tumbling around you. But as every great leader knows, you can't lead anybody somewhere you've never been yourself. And now with this great path that you've created and that you followed yourself, I'd love to hear a bit of that journey and how others can really see how you can benefit them.
Yeah. Before I start, the lowest lows in my life, where I've been kind of, really throwing off the road I thought I was about to travel. And this is the pattern that kind of keeps repeating in my life. I mean, I've been doing a lot of different things in the past. I love to try new things and, explore things. But always when the going got tough, this where I leaped forward because I had to.
Mm.
Interestingly, I've talked about that with my mother today because we were visiting my parents. And yeah, when I lost my job, at the beginning of 2022, I bought myself a new notepad and I was all fired up, how it is in the beginning of the year. And I was writing down, this is going to be the best year of my declaration. This is going to be the best year of my life so far. I just, I just wanted to make sure
I love the so far part.
Better, but so far. So, okay. I started EMF in May. So this was good. I loved EMF. I mean, I met wonderful people like you, and I think you agree that we just have a beautiful, supportive, loving, group, a peer group build up in EMF 17, and I all love them dearly. And it's just there's so much support and love there. And I was so happy it was there when the going got tough again. And, just like it was like almost on the same day with our graduation day, I got another graduation day, a live event graduation day, because out of nowhere, out of left field, totally left field, I got a phone call. I lost my job from, one day to another. I wasn't allowed to do anything. I wasn't allowed to access my emails. They were serious about it. And it was a shock. I was sitting there like, okay. But then I was like, okay, Tina, relax. This is just, obviously I wasn't in alignment with the organization anymore. And I mean this in the nicest way. It was just the paths were going in different directions. And the universe found, a way to kick me out there. And, what initially seemed like it's going to be a real catastrophe, everything crumbled. Nothing happened. In the end, they had nothing. But then they already terminated my contract and there was no turning back. So there I was. And then, I was working for a charity, children's charity. Mm-hmm. And, I was expecting, now comes the fundraising season. It's going to be the most stressful days and months of the year. And there I was having nothing to do. And I was getting paid for the next 4 months. And it didn't took me that long. I had a great support with my beautiful EMF group. I could cry there. And I was absolutely sure, I'm in a safe space and I could tell them and they will understand. And they did. And no one was judging me. No one, it was just beautiful. And I felt so loved and so supported. And then it took me 2 weeks to kind of reframe it. And then I saw the blessing in it. I was like, wow, I thought I would have to work like a horse for the next 3 months and then take, some time off so I can digest what happened and that I've been working so much. And now I'm just free to do whatever I want and to kind of reinvent myself and think of what I really want to do. And, this is how it all came about. And I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. It wasn't like I was all-time employed and I was really afraid. There we have the child. And it wasn't, I wasn't afraid of not being employed anymore, but you know, I had to leap into the unknown. But as we all know, you know, nothing new can happen in the known, right? Nothing exciting or nothing like an expansion can come out of your comfort zone. You have to be kicked out of your comfort zone. And you know, I had a plan, but the universe had other plans, and I'm so happy now that everything turned out as it turned out. And but you know, to have that kind of trust and just have faith and keep going. I mean, you had a similar experience, right? You've been in a place where you were like, whoa, I don't know where the money's going to come tomorrow. And I didn't know that too, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of those actually. So I was working in the pediatric outpatient hospital here in Utah, and the Eccles outpatient building, as they call it. And pandemic hit, right? Well, first I started my job in, brand new job in 2020, coming from pediatric medical research to then doing data analysis and business forecasting. And, I show up, get the first, get my job. First day is January 1st of 2020. Because what could happen in 2020 that might, upset some things. And when they hired me, they say, hey, we don't really know what we're doing. We need somebody to come in and tell us what we're doing because we're clearly doing something wrong. And, so 2 months in, well, then the pandemic happened. And that was strange. That was really weird. And that's when I was like, wait a minute. This is the part of my life that I've been trying to get out of politics, because for so long I was so just rigidly involved in politics, and it was ruining my life. And so I was letting all that go. And yet here it is, just roaring up in front of me, just like, look how political the system is that you're in. It's like, oh, F me. Like, here I am thinking like, hey, at least I'm helping kids, right? There's so much going on in the world, but at least I'm helping kids, at least indirectly, right? I'm not the practitioner, but I'm helping all of the tertiary clinics, right? The neurologists, the, metabolic specialists, the pulmonologists, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And, how they can, help their clinics fill up, be it by seeing patients, by understanding the data, by understanding how they can help. Well, that anchor I had, got uprooted with the pandemic, because, here we are saying, hey, everyone needs to wear a mask, and everyone needs to wear a mask until everyone gets the vaccine. And then we all got vaccinated, and then we're also wearing masks, and nobody said anything about it. Nobody brought it up, just as if we were incurious, as if there was no reason to bring it up. Yeah, masks are normal now. Like, well, what? So I asked there's an amnesty email that went to the chair of pediatrics, somebody who knows me, who I've had conversations with, who emailed me and said, you know what, Josh, if you had a superpower, it's giving meaningful feedback and encouragement to others. Like, dude, during a pandemic, I'll call that an awesome superpower. Well, so I asked, hey, what gives? And not exactly these words, but, hey, what gives, right? We were wearing the mask until we got vaccinated. Now that we're vaccinated, we're still wearing masks. What's going on? And the response I got was, well, we just can't wait till there's more moderate voices in, legislature, because this is when Trump was in office. And, and it says, I got this word salad that didn't really make sense. I was like, oh, this is so much more deeply political than I ever thought. And it kind of broke my heart. And then I found out about a sales opportunity, and I could really see myself being a, high ticket closer. And so I quit my job without really knowing how, like, that I could do it. Well, I knew I could do it without proof. And so I, jumped off into that job that taught me how to be a closer, taught me how to be a great salesman, taught me how to have a great discovery call and help people ask people questions that they likely never been asked before in their life. Never had such a call on clarity of what they want, nor have they had the opportunity to hear themselves say it and be like, oh, that's why it's important to me. And then I ended up losing my job, not unlike you, like, what's going on here? And, it wasn't about 2 months later, I think, is when I graduated from Healing Genius with Ed Stracher. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Now I can actually start making money through this. Well, that's strange. And then it just kind of led me to, and every time that I've, gone to take a step, even if I don't know that there's a step there, it seems like something rises to catch my foot. And now, not only am I still doing the healing business, but now I've got an opportunity to be be a high ticket closer for a woman who is a shaman who helps other healers build out their businesses in an exploration of what I'm looking to do. But now I actually get to help benefit her. And she was struggling. Get this. She was struggling finding salespeople who had higher consciousness and who understood spirituality. And it was actually my friend. I know, right? My friend who was like, hey, we really want you to be part of this. And he mentioned, well, what do you think about having two instead of just one? And I said, well, we're open to that. Well, do you have anyone in mind? He's like, well, actually, I do. And so we never really know where the river's going to bend. And this is now just starting getting up. They're just now doing their Facebook ads, but it seems like this is going to be an incredible opportunity. And then I've got, this Denver thing too. And then I might be able to meet my, my youngest niece and nephew who I've never met. A little bit of an interesting connection there because they're fraternal twins. I was a fraternal twin, but my fraternal twin died in utero. And so there's something there. And then Joseph and Joshua, Aubrey as well, but Joseph and Joshua get to show up. And that sounds like something magical in the making, especially with Joshua and Mary here. Right. But yeah, you're right. Like the river bends, it twists. We don't really know where it's going to go. And I love how you really stayed centered in where you knew you'd find love in the peer group, right? Loving yourself, grounded in who you are and how things have really worked out so well for you. And if you could give maybe one nugget of wisdom for somebody who might be struggling, right? Maybe somebody who they understand what we're saying and they understand that what we're saying, that there's words that we're stringing together that are making coherent sentences, but only the mind is getting it, but the heart isn't quite buying in. Do you maybe have any nuggets of wisdom that maybe help them, some small actionable step that they can take to start to unlock that heart-mind coherence?
I think it's the first step to really connect to yourself is not to be afraid to turn inward. I think many people are so afraid of what they will discover there that they don't even do it. Because I hear that so often when people start meditating or start with some kind of, even if they do yoga, I have witnessed so many people in their first yoga lesson starting to cry. And they didn't know why. And it tripped them up. They were like, why do I have to cry now? And I said, that's good. That's your body releasing emotions that you've been holding for so long. And now they found a way to leave you. That's a good thing. But people are afraid of that. And they are afraid to turn inward because I don't know why. It's this step into the unknown. I think we have that, or many people have this. I want to be safe. I want to feel secure. I want to have things under control. And I understand that. I was control freak for I don't know how long. I love to have things under control. And to let that go can be really, really hard. I understand that. I feel that. I've been there. I know where you are. But all the good things lie behind that. They are behind that space. You have to let go. Even if you think you cannot do it, even if you think, no, for me, that's impossible. and stop looking inside. Stop looking outside for a solution. You will only find the solution inside. And I think that's the most, for most of the people, it's the most unlikely place. They're trying to find a solution with linear thinking. But linear thinking is that it's linear. It's very limited. And if you can just for a moment entertain the idea that there is this small screen you're seeing, and that's, you think this is your life, but actually this is 0.1% of your life. 99.9% is off your radar. And that's the truth. That's really how it is. 99.9% you have no idea what's going on for you in the moment. And you can only, it's all about frequency. It sounds maybe totally off for you, but it's all frequency. It's radio tuning and receiving. I mean, I think everyone, even if you don't call yourself spiritual or something, but you would agree that joy and fear are feeling differently, right? And that means they have a different frequency. They have a really different frequency. So if something in your life happens where you're like, oh, this really feels, I have anxiety, maybe I'm moving close to a depression, or I'm in a depression, this is what you're sending out. And in these 99.9%, this is the vibration you're giving out. And this is the only thing that can come back to you by law. And it doesn't matter if you believe in it, if you think that this is true, if you think that you are maybe the only exception in the universe. It's not. It's a law. It comes back what you send out. So concentrate on what you're sending out, and do that with all the focus you can come up with. It's so important. Watch your thoughts. Watch how you feel. Do things, say things, think things that make you feel good, and everything else will fall into place. It's my absolute promise to you, because it is law. It cannot happen otherwise. It's that easy. And you know what? I've been thinking a lot about this. You hear that all the time. You have to work hard to achieve your goals. And if you want to be successful, then you have to work even harder. And that hard work, I think the hardest work is the inner work. But no one's talking about this. They all think it's this being active in the outer world and, dragging your body through space and do something and just achieve your goals and write them down. And then you work like diligently to get there. And you can have some success. But if you do, I don't want to talk no one out of action. But it is important. It's so important because it's so much more effective if you do the inner alignment first and get your radio dial to the station you really want to hear. If you want to hear the station of abundance, you have to be in a vibration of abundance. If you're thinking all day, every day about that you are in a state of lack, guess what's going to show up? Lack. Because it could be otherwise. So you have to find a vibration that is good. And if abundance or money is too loaded for you with negative thinking, or you feel you have resistance, then find a feeling like ease, liberation, freedom, something that just feels good to you, and how you would feel if you have it. What you want to achieve. And then practice this and practice it again and again and again. It's not happening in 2 days. Normally, it doesn't. I mean, you can be very successful if you know how to do it. And you know that too, right? If you know the frequency, if you know it, and you just radiate it, things can show up out of nowhere in a day. But it's very unlikely. Normally, you have to practice it for a while. And I think this is where it gets kind of difficult for people, because there is no instant gratification. You know, it's not like you sit there one time and meditate, or just, you know, give your inside world some attention, and just observe yourself. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? What is your self-talk? Stand in front of a mirror and have positive self-talk is debilitating for most of the people. Did you know that most of the people don't even look at themselves in the mirror?
Yeah.
Like,
that's crazy.
50% have instant negative self-talk when they see themselves in the mirror, and the other 50% don't even look, because they know that instantly that negative self-talk will start. And I've been there too. And it was so I was in a complete state of ignorance. It was just normal. It was my state of being. And, you know, do it step by step and have patience. Have patience. Don't expect it to happen overnight. Keep consistent. That's important. That's really important. You have to keep at it. You have to keep digging. You have to keep going, even if it gets tough, especially when it gets tough. And keep the faith that you're moving towards something that's great. I mean, I love when Peter said in the goal setting module that the reason why most of the goals are not happening is that they are boring, that they are not big enough, that they are not inspiring. And I couldn't agree more. You have to aim high with what you want, because, you know, you shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you're still among the stars. And this is where we're supposed to be. You know, this playing small is not good for our souls. The soul don't want the souls want to, you know, they want to expand, they want to grow, they want to go on an adventure, they want to feel alive, they want to do something they've never done before. And we tend to, you know, put ourselves into boxes and think, you know, this is it, and then we keep repeating this box every day of our life, and it's a shame. Don't do that. Just believe that there is something bigger, that there's something bigger in you, and that there's something bigger waiting for you, and that you can achieve anything you want, but you have to believe it. And then you have to do the work, not the outside work. You have to do the inner work. And if you've done the inner work, all the inspiration, all the ideas, all the people, all the money, all the support you need will come to you. It is law. It has to come. And I mean, we're living proof that it works, but you have to work first, and you have to work on the inside and try it.
I love that. And I know that we're running out of time, but
Yeah.
I also know that that you are putting on, you know, some sort of manifesting abundance. And so if people actually want to learn this and actually, you know, experience it and get in depth on this, what would be the best way for them to participate in that?
Oh, they can just I mean, I've been posting it on Facebook, and they can just write me an email. I am at feelingunlimited.com. I am at feelingunlimited.com. And it will be on the 17th of July at the new moon, because new moon is great for new beginnings. And it's going to be about clearing some of the biggest blockages we have around money. And it's going to be group clearing. So the more, the merrier. And because it's going to be around money. So if you have any blockages, if you are feeling stuck in the area of money, manifestation, abundance, where you're like, oh my God, I've been trying everything, but still it's not working. Or sometimes it's working, but I don't have the success I really want. That will be something for you. If you consider yourself to be a healer, a light worker, an empath, and highly sensitive person, it's perfect for you, because we're gonna clear a lot of like the 6 most common light worker blocks that we kind of all have and no one's even aware of. And I think this is going to be a great relief for everyone. I had this kind of really handed down from the universe. I couldn't say it otherwise. I was writing like crazy, 3 hours. I couldn't write it like fast enough. So it got really, I got the whole package, and they were like, do it. And I was like, okay, I do it. And it's a give what you can class. So doesn't matter. Whatever you can contribute is welcome. And if you can't contribute anything but want to participate, you're welcome anyway.
That's awesome. So if you're listening to this and you would like to find abundance in your life, go ahead and email im@feelingunlimited.com, and I'll go ahead and have that in the show notes, in the details, so that way people can have that as well. And Tina, this has been awesome. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I love how vibrant you are. I love how you've really moved into well, your great I amness, and right, together, right, we can raise consciousness globally or locally, right, in our own way, and think globally, act locally, and expand.
Absolutely. And be the light. That's I mean, I told you that I met Danny Corsigara, who's really a big time coach, and after 3 days he was just, as he said, keep shining, it's so inspiring. And you always think you have to do things, but you have to, before you can do something, you first have to be something. And then from that place of beingness, you can do things, right? And you can move things. It was a pleasure, Joshua. I always like talking to you. Like, time flies when you're having fun. I had much fun. Thank you.
Oh, I've really enjoyed it myself. Well, thank you again so much for your time, Tina. You are a wealth of inspiration and knowledge, and I love what you do. I love that you're part of my peer group, right? So this has been special for me. And to all those who are watching, may love and truth always guide your path. And go ahead and like and subscribe. Let us know what you've liked, what you didn't like. If we didn't ask any follow-up questions or expounded, hey, give it, maybe reach out to Tina and ask her to expound, or show up to her financial abundance manifestation, and see how you can benefit. And as always, again, thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye.